Hey everyone, welcome back to the Motor City Crowns podcast, where passion reigns and excellence is crowned. Today, I'm excited to share some news with you. We're shaking things up a bit with a brand new format, as you can see, and I think you're going to love it. Don't worry, the podcast will still be uploaded to Spotify, Amazon, and Apple Podcasts as well. Over the past few months, we've chatted with some truly incredible guests here in the Detroit area. From discussions on personal growth and the arts to deep dives into spirituality and metaphysics. We've covered a lot of ground, but now we're taking things to the next level, and it will allow us to get literally a new perspective for me and all of you who are watching as well. I'll be video chatting with a guest on this podcast and some of them in the future. These will all be uploaded to my YouTube channel. Past podcasts will be uploaded in the coming weeks as well, with transcripts to follow along. I've been working behind the scenes to engage with people who truly inspire others, whose passion for what they do really shows in their work, and some who have mastered their craft. Stay locked in, like and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss any of our future guests. But before we dive into this new chapter, I want to take a moment to thank each and every one of you who has tuned into the podcast so far. Whether you've been listening since day one or you just discovered it recently, your support means everything. So thank you. All right, so on episode 5, I had the pleasure of interviewing an artist who brings her unique flair to the smaller scale, creating connections through the experience of live artwork. Victoria Bayagich. Enjoy. Welcome to the Motor City Crowns podcast. We're doing things a little different today. This is the first video call interview, and I will be doing this format here and there in the future. Today we have Victoria Bayagich. Did I get that right? Okay. Thank you for coming on today. I appreciate it. She is the owner of Watercolor Connections, where she does personal portraitures of people at events all over town. Could you tell me a little bit about your background?
And my background in the arts, my background.
Just personal, like maybe family, about your last name, as you were telling me.
Okay, cool. Yep. So I'm Victoria. I was born at Hudson Hospital, but raised out by Washington Township, which is very north, like border to Romeo and stuff. Went to Catholic school, studied at CCS in Detroit for college. So now I've been here in Detroit since 2011. And yeah, have been done everything from exhibition to freelance work to painting commissions, live events. I think 2016 is when painting live started becoming like, oh, everybody want to see people paint live now. Anyway, so been painting live, and now I am in the wedding industry in the corporate event space doing live portraitures for Watercolor Connections. Yeah, so I don't know if that kind of gives you a little overall background. Yeah. But I'm Mexican and Yugoslavian, so my mother's Mexican, my father's Yugoslavian, and that's where the Bayagich comes from. Yep. Yeah, it is. It was a blind date.
Sometimes it goes that way.
Right.
How did you get started with this type of art? Was it something that you played with, like you seen somewhere and you ran with it? And how do you get like the inspiration when it comes to these portraitures?
Right. So growing up, my parents would always take me to Greektown. So back like probably when I was like 5, I can remember that. And a lot of people remember him too. It was this old black man, this elder black man with long salt and pepper locks, doing charcoal portraits out in front of Astoria Bakery, right there in Greektown. So he would just be doing the portraits there. And every time I come, he was always there. And I always wanted to get a portrait by him. And just so beautifully detailed, rendered portraits of people. And so I always wanted to draw like him. I always was a fan of his work. And I'm a people person. So I would always just practice drawing things that I seen. So I would do a lot of portrait drawings in high school, and stuff like that of people. So just
Seems like
that
you're a
kind
people
of,
person.
yeah, that kind of just was always part of me. Always practice portraits. People growing up, people would always say, like, anatomy and portraits are some of the hardest things to draw. And I think because I like competition, I like challenges, I'm very competitive by nature, that that kind of was something I wanted to perfect upon, or at least be good at. Like, oh, somebody said this is difficult, bet I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
And so that's the spirit and nature of me. So that was one thing that was stuck with me, that I always wanted to try to perfect. Something I was very critical of myself in a way that wasn't damaging, but more of, how can I improve this ability? How can I improve this? So like having that critical eye kind of um, made me want to better my skills, and
Mhm.
wanting to capture a person's likeness, how exactly how they look, based on like unique features that they have, just them. That's what I love doing. So
Are you still critical of the work that you do now?
yes,
You still
yes,
learning, I bet.
yes, I think that never stops. And I think there's a way to do it where it's positive, and beneficial to a person, rather than negative and damaging. So I like to be critical in a way that only betters my abilities.
Right. So I seen you post on Instagram where you're using the watercolor paints most of the time, and other times I've seen you, you're at coffee shops and you're
Mhm.
using espresso. That's such a cool and creative thing to do. Where did that come about, and when did you start doing that?
So I think as artists, we use the things around us, right? And so it's not far fetched for an artist to use coffee as their medium, as their, because, you see artists with this stereotypical, they gotta have the coffee and the cigarette, right?
Right.
And so coffee, though, there's a lot of artists have used coffee, and just by proximity of the location, the setting, using espresso is something that is like, just is there. And it gives the person the aroma, the experience, it ties
Yeah.
you into a place. And a lot of paint, like when you study the history of pigment and paint, you'll learn that, I mean, obviously at one point everything came from nature,
Yeah.
until we find different chemical man-made processes to make paint now, and now we're fucking up the planet and everything. But that's another story. But I'm sure, and I don't know, like, if coffee has ever been used as pigment before, but it's something that can easily be made into like a hard paste like paint,
Oh,
which at some point I'm gonna eventually create my own, like, if you ever see the paint sets where, like, a watercolor set, sometimes you have it where it's in a tube and it's kind of like acrylic liquidy type, and
yeah.
sometimes you have it where it's hard, and like a hard pigment that you have to mix with water and stuff. So one day I'll make my own espresso pigment, so that it's already made and ready to go. So I don't have to buy espresso every time I do it. But but it really ties people in with the place, and just creatives always mess with the shit that they got. So like at one point I'll paint with wine or something, just
Oh, that would be interesting.
Right?
Have you
Yeah.
tried that?
I have tried it. I feel like I need to find the right wine that stains really well.
That sounds very interesting. With that whole coffee shop setting, I'm sure that makes things a little bit more intimate, even though the format that you already use is pretty intimate. You know, you're one on one or one on two, or even a group sometimes that creates that setting of intimacy and connection, the
Mm-hmm.
watercolor connections, as
Mm-hmm.
as your business is. I think it's an interesting way the way you do your portraitures in that quick turnaround format, and you tend to meet a lot of people to make those connections. Um, I feel it's a little similar to what I'm trying to do on this show.
Mm.
Bringing people on, give them their flowers, give them exposure, and allow the audience to um, get familiar with them so the community can come together and get to know each other better. And that makes them more likely to support one another. So I really admire what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah,
You're
this
welcome.
this business stemmed from so I started this during the pandemic on Instagram Live. So
Yeah.
how we're in the meeting right now, I would be doing the time lapse. So you would be seeing the painting and I would just be painting you. So
Oh,
this is how
wow.
it all began, was virtually. And it was a way to connect with folks, something to do. Shout out to Bob Ross for giving people kind of that, that watching an artist paint, the first live painter right on TV. Well, not the first, I don't know. There's another one. I don't know if his name was Arthur. Um, or I can't remember his name. Somebody just shared him, like, not only was Bob Ross the artist too, but don't forget this guy. And I have to remember his name,
Not
but
familiar. I was a huge Bob Ross fan. I still watch him today.
right. So peaceful and
It
calming. And I
is. It is.
So during the pandemic, it was a great way to connect with people, give them that moment to just watch that process unfold and have a conversation, join the dialogue, comment. Um,
So it was like open to other people besides the person you were painting.
So it was Instagram Live. It was 30-minute sessions, so it was much longer. And it was free. So I had set it up like a TV show. So every Tuesday and Thursday, tune in from this time. I
I caught
had
a few. Yeah.
I had like 5 people lined up every episode, and it was about, like, I think I did over 100 people.
Oh, wow.
And so it was free sessions, but if you wanted the painting, then it was a small shipping, it was a small fee just to send it to you. And
Yeah.
then I created a book off of that, and I have a book available for prints of um, the paintings that I did during that time. So as soon as everything opened back up, I started brainstorming, how can I bring this process to real time? And especially with a lot of the COVID restrictions lifting, masks, still 6 feet, still this. I created a way that allowed people to watch from afar, to watch the painting process from afar and leave with a piece. So that's where the TV next to me comes into play. The time lapse recording. Now everybody likes, posting like, oh, look at this experience.
Yeah.
They share the video, they share the time lapse of them, and then they have the frame portrait available to them. So
What's the average time of one of those portraitures?
5 minutes.
5 minutes. Oh, wow.
So that's the lined, more simplistic approach. And my approach, I tend to like to think of Zen Buddhism.
Mhm.
Um, their ink and watercolor process is very quick, swift, in the present. So a lot of my inspiration for just going right into it, into watercolor, is from that style and approach of art.
I think that goes with my next question. Have you experimented in any other forms of art before?
Oh, so like different styles or different
Or
mediums?
like yeah, different mediums. Yeah.
Yes, so I'm in my little dining room right now, so I'm gonna walk you over to my
Okay.
studio space. So
Getting a tour is always fun.
prior to Watercolor Connections, I people know me for oil portraitures.
Hmm.
Before that, I was doing like hour paintings of 1 hour paintings in oil of celebrity portraits. And
Okay.
I think it was like $100 at the time. So this is a commission I did of Miguel
Yeah.
Cabrera. He signed
That was
it. So
the next questions too.
is it backwards? So I gotta go the other way. Let me see.
You'd have to turn it back. Yeah, that's good.
Okay, there we go. So let's see. Miguel Cabrera signed it right there. Boom.
That's awesome.
This is in oil. Yeah.
So you got to meet him and hang out with him for a bit.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I met him per se, but he signed the painting. I didn't get a chance to talk with him. Big Sean signed this one. So,
Tell me about these paintings. How did those projects come about?
so with Watercolor Connections, I have been reaching out to event planners as a and ask, inquiring about how to become on their preferred vendor list.
Hmm.
So I ran into an event planner who saw my email. I called up, called up, like, hey, did you get my email regarding this? I'd love to, become involved in your business. I want to know more about your business. What are ways that we can work together? And she was like, well, I do this, and okay, cool, nice to meet you. And then we get off the phone. 10 minutes later, she's like, wait, hold up. I got an event with tigers coming up. Do you do live paintings and oil? Like, do you do any other styles? And I was like, yes, I do. Sent her examples of my work. And then she's like, cool, cool, cool. Yep, yep, yep. So let's do a painting of Miguel Cabrera, and he'll sign it, and it'll be auctioned off for I think it was Make-A-Wish Foundation and his
Hmm.
Mickey Foundation, and I think Illich Foundation. I can't remember specifically if it was for all three or for Make-A-Wish specifically, but those organizations were involved, and so just connected the dots. She got me painting Miguel Cabrera for that event. So a lot of them are just me being about my hustle and reaching out and figuring out what ways, like who I could connect with to get the next gig. Because a lot of freelancing is either word of mouth or just how well you can reach out to other companies and expand upon your circle. So
Absolutely.
that's how that came about. The Big Sean one came about because the next day, Mav, as you met him already and you know about Mav. So Mav had an event that his business was doing down weekend, which is Big Sean's annual event that he does for the neighborhood. And I just so happen to have all my supplies in from the Miguel Cabrera painting the day before. So
That
all
happened so quick for you,
my
huh?
supplies, all of my supplies were in my car. I had an extra canvas, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna paint today. So I painted, and then I was like, it'd be crazy if he signed this. So
That's awesome.
it just lined up, and I was like, that's wild. Okay, that's crazy. So now I think I'm about to go to no, I'm not. I think I'm gonna go to Andre 3000's
Oh yeah, the concert that he's bringing to Detroit.
yep, yep. So we're gonna go, and it's an intimate Cliff Bell. So
Oh yeah,
let me just paint a painting of him and be like, he signed
that'd be
it.
pretty dope.
So then I would have three sign paintings. So I just said like, so, I might, I, as far as oil paintings, those are a little bit more on the pricier side because oil
Mhm.
is definitely a lot more expensive than some watercolors can be. But um, and time and skill set.
Right.
Um, I think I'm gonna focus more on the auctions and organization side of things when it comes to that style of work. But anyway, so yeah, I do different styles. I have a couple of commissions right now that I'm finishing up here. These were done at weddings, a wedding, same wedding. There's that one that I got finished up, and that one. So yep, that's different. And I got a pile over here that I gotta work on. So
I love being able to see like where the work is being done, like where that intellectual process is making each and every individual piece of art. I think that's it, important to some people to see their artists and how they think.
mm,
So the kind of going with the spirit of the show.
mm.
So I've seen many people around town with your portraiture that was done by you, and I find that so cool because it's like getting a collectible, you know.
Mm.
It's like collecting Pokemon cards or something. What types of public events have you been a part of, and which ones did you enjoy the most where you did your portraitures?
Mm-mm-mm. So last year I did do a lot of um consistent pop-ups. At was at the Congregation, and that's on Rosa Parks in Claremont. That's that coffee bar spot. Love that spot. So I did it consistently there. I was also a part of Decipher's Wednesday live music series.
Mhm.
I was there for a few times, and then there was Motown had invited me out. Um, but I think the Congregation was the most consistent because that one was every Sunday. And I just know it's a lot easier to tell somebody, hey, join me here when it's an every Sunday kind of thing.
Yeah,
Sometimes when it falls into every third Saturday, every third that like people they
forget
lose,
it.
yeah, it loses a consistency and people need that routine. So I liked when it was at the Congregation every Saturday, every I think it was Sunday or something. Um just because that was most consistent for people to remember. And painting an espresso. I love people get a kick out of it. They love it so much. And I love it too. I'm like, cool. Like I don't have to think about other colors.
Right, right.
I just painted espresso and it just smells good. And
Yeah.
um yeah, it's
Then you can
cool to
drink
just
some and you got enough energy for the night.
so I really enjoy that. That one was a fun gig.
So we've talked before about you looking to expand the business. I find that pretty, I find that cool that you're trying to do that. And could you tell me a little bit more about how that would look? And I know that you definitely need somebody who is creative and talented like yourself to help you do that.
Yeah, so right now I'm currently training or, helping another artist have that quick, swift approach with watercolors in portraiture without it looking like a caricature.
Yeah.
So I am currently looking for more artists who do have a passion for capturing somebody's likeness as they are. Because yeah, that's one of the ways that I'm looking to expand. So getting more artists, it would be nice to be able to have enough artists where I'm solely focused on the booking process, and then being able to just focus on um my own output, my own going into the exhibition realm of things. My own series is how I like to think. So yeah, so the way that I want to expand Watercolor Connections is inviting more artists to paint with me. And then I would be in charge of solely booking. But we shall see. We shall see.
Could you tell our listeners where they might be able to catch you in the next upcoming weeks, and how can they book your services for themselves?
So right now I'm offering my services on a form called Gig Salad. That's where you can find a lot of niche markets, like if you're looking for a juggler, or if you're looking for a contortionist, or a fine art speaker. So my services are on Gig Salad as well as on my own website, watercolorconnections.com. And any upcoming events. I don't think I have any public events at the moment. However, I am participating in an exhibition on February 29th, and that location will be announced within the next few weeks. But I'll have a show coming up, and it'll be a group show, so a lot of Detroit local artists will be a part. And yeah, so that's where they can find me next. February 29th. It's called Art We Love.
Awesome. So I got one last question for you. With the show being about highlighting the talent in the Metro Detroit area, is there anyone you would like to see on here?
Let's see. We'll do Aurora Agolio. She's great. She's a graphic designer, like does animations. Yeah, she's great. Her, Kay Bay. She has her own music. She's a host, MC. So Kay Bay Music, Aurora. Let's see, who else? We'll do. I love Problematic Black Hottie. She's great.
Okay.
I like her work. She's a DJ. Yep. Let's see. Shane Trees. I don't know if you met with him yet, but Shane Trees is another DJ. As far as art goes, or as far as like
anything, as far as any that you find that that need exposure, that would want to expand whatever they're doing, and that you feel everybody around the area should know who they are.
Oh, cool. Okay, I'm gonna say those people for now.
Okay, yeah, I will definitely check them out, and I hope the viewers will as well. Also, if the viewers have any suggestions for guests on the show, email me at motorcitycrownspod@gmail.com, or find the podcast page on IG at Motor City Crowns. Now, how can people find you on social media?
Watercolor Connections, info@watercolorconnections.com, facebook.com/watercolorconnections. Yep, that's how they can find me.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I can't wait to see what the future holds for you and Watercolor Connections. Thank you for giving me and my listeners a bit of insight on your business, a bit of your time, and how small portraitures can bring so many smiles to so many people. And for that, Victoria, you have truly earned your crown. I'm your host, Robert Solano Sanchez, and I want to thank you all for tuning in, and I will see you next time.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Thank you so much.